going to invite Donovan Dowdy. He is the owner of Commemorative Comics, and he has agreed to come in today and tell us a little bit about his love for comic books and the geek culture of Polk County here. Donovan, how are you doing today? We're very happy to have you here.
Justin, thank you very much.
And one last thing before we do get started, I want to thank our mayor and commissioner for being here. This is Mayor Tim Pospickle. Would you stand and greet the crowd? And he is here with Commissioner Dorita Taylor-Boger. And they are just great at keeping the city alive and providing a lot of fun things for us to do as we work, live, and play here in the city of Auburndale. So, to get us started, Donovan, you are a comic book guru.
Yes.
As you like to be called. And how did this start for you? How did you get into or catch the bug with comics?
When I was about 3.5, 4 years old, my grandmother, who lived through the Depression, would go to the grocery store 2 times a week to buy groceries. She didn't want to be pestered by me, so I sat by the spinner comic book rack with my grandpa while she went grocery shopping. And what I do is called commemorative comics. I research when you were born, your month, year, and your favorite superhero, and I try to find your birthday comic. So I have a couple of samples I can show you here, but what I was just talking about, when I first looked at comic books, my grandma didn't buy it for me. I just look at them, and the first books she got me was Roadrunner, Casper, things like that, Archie. But I found a website I could go back in time and look month by month. I'm like, I remember that cover, I remember that cover. I found the earliest one, and I was about 3.5 or 4. This is Casper in Space. And I remember him roasting the marshmallow by the sun. And so I found this on eBay and bought it. I love eBay.
And that's pretty cool. There's a lot of really catching covers for comic books.
Yes.
That's something that draws myself to him, is looking at the artwork and illustrations. How important do you sort of rate that cover art to the contents of the comic book?
It really is a lot. The cover really is a big thing. If we have time, I'll talk about how they grade comics and things like that as well. But it catches your eye, and it leads you to possibly buy it or not. I was born in September 1969, so I got a couple of my books. This happened to be a key issue. It was the first Falcon in Captain America. It's number 117. And then I had a Submariner, also from September of 1969, number 17. So
and some of these are pretty new to me. Submariner, where does he come from? Like, where does he fit into that universe?
I believe his first appearance was Fantastic Four number 4. There's rumors of him being in a movie on and off every few years, so we won't know until it really happens, but there's talk about it. So.
Okay, right on. And so you research these. How long does it take when you get someone's birthday or so to hit your mark with that research?
What I do is it's probably 2 to 4 hours on my end. I'll locate it, find it, communicate back and forth, and if it's something you want, I can find it through local stores, on eBay. I have a couple vendors that I've bought from before that what you see won't get damaged in the mail when they send it because it comes in a cardboard box, things like that, and it's just a waiting process, the 5 to 10 business days or whatever. So, but if you like Batman and there were 3 covers for that month when you were born, I can send you a screenshot like which one do you like the best, which one would look good on your wall or whatever, and then I just pull the trigger and order it when you're ready. So.
And is there a database or like a place that you found as like a one-stop shop for comic book research?
Multiple places. Like the Overstreet price guides. Here's last year's. They get thicker over time. Yeah, this is number 46 from last year. But my first one, my earliest one, is I actually found number 7. They were a lot smaller, both height-wise, width-wise, and thickness. I study them. I read the articles. I look at the prices. one of my favorite books of all time. I have 2 copies of the first appearance of Black Panther, which was Fantastic Four number 52. I bought them in the early 90s, one for $20, one for $60. The $20 one I sold for $400 about 2 summers ago. The $60 one is now worth $6,000. So it's just because he was under the radar. And when I was a kid, I wanted to buy the first Spider-Man. When I was mowing lawns, it was $800. I couldn't afford that. So reading Overstreet, I found out what was still under the radar, what I could afford, and from those articles I made hit lists, and I went out and found them and bought them.
So one of those I used to call it a trope in the popular world or so, like, got a kid, he's got the untouched #1 Spider-Man,
Yes.
like, oh man, that guy's so cool, he's got that. How does that hold up today with today's modern comic books, those first print editions? Like, how do we see those value over time nowadays?
It's really hard. If I could go back in time to the 1970s, I would be a kid in a candy store. This one, like Hulk 181 with the first Wolverine and things like that. You just don't know. I have a single by my desk over there at the back, and it's just, why would you love? Don't do it for the money. Do it because you love it, because it steadily goes up. But there's been downturns too, and the people that were in it only for the money, they get out. The people that did it because they love comics, they stay in it year after year. So.
Yeah, and I found some people that are hardcore fans. They're just really drawn to the medium. So how does that? Now, do you find these guys that get into comic book mediums? Are they avid book readers, or what sort of media do they tend to consume when you're a comic book nerd?
You get both. You get some people that just get it and they treat it like a stock market, but then you get some that just, they really get into it. Something that you mentioned made me think of something. When in the late 1990s, right before Y2K hit, they were talking about digital comic books. And I'm like, well, wait a second. You've got to touch it, trade it, hold it, you know. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I was fearful that comic books were going to go away. And there were comic book shops going out of business. What was keeping them open was the D&D games and things like that, but they weren't staying open because of the comic books alone, so they brought it out. But I'd say in the last 7-8 years, there's just been a whole new wave of young folks that are getting back into comic books, and it's just fun. I mean, I was looking through some lawn boxes, and there's like this 12, 13-year-old girl 3 boxes down from me, and she said, do you have any old Silver Surfers? I can't find any in here. And I'm like, yes, kids are reading comic books again. And what I did is, to my nieces and nephews in the late 90s, I would give them some of my books as presents to kind of pass that torch on, because it was dying in the late 1990s. But I consider this a new golden age of comic books. It's fun. All the new TV shows and movies that come out, it's a great time to be a comic book fan. Because when I was in 8th grade and going into high school, you kind of were a closet comic book fan. You didn't tell people because they thought we were like super nerdy, but now it's cool.
Cool. And then, so to kick things into like the business sense of being a comic book owner, you started out here in Polk County with your
Yes,
comic books?
I taught at Auburndale High School. Any TV kids out there? And I've had a video business for many years, probably 15, 20 years. I did Miss Auburndale and Little Miss Auburndale and other things. So a lot of people in Auburndale know me as the video guy. And just about 2-3 years ago, I started with comic books. So some people call me the comic book guy. So, but it's just, but it has been a lifelong passion for over 40 years. I've been reading and studying and researching comic books and stuff.
Did you start out with like a supplier per se, or did you sort of go out and find your stock? And
those of you that are comic book nuts like me, whenever I go to a new town, I get on my phone, or 10 years ago the Yellow Pages, and I look for the local comic book shops, and I hit them up and see what they had. I go in and I'll spend an hour and a half in a shop if I've never been in it, and just go through. And I know the numbers up here and in my head, and if I feel there's something that they haven't priced their books in 4 or 5 years, I look for the gold nuggets. And so I have books from probably 70 to 100 shops over my lifetime that I've bought books from. So yeah.
Okay. And have you ever doubted to create your own hero comic book yourself?
In that way, I'm not creative. I'm creative on the video side as my TV kids, but not in terms of drawing or writing or anything like that. Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, we got a couple of minutes with this guest. Do we want to? I want to open up for some question and answer from the guests. Do we have any questions in the audience that you'd like to ask Donovan? Yes, just your man.
How do you keep your most valuable comic books? Do you keep them in a safe, or how do you keep them? How do you store them?
Great question. There is a place right here in Florida, and they will certify your books. I've got two here. I'll pull them up real quick without the microphone.
The company is called CGC. There's 4 companies, but they started it back in 2000. And so what they do is you pay them $16 to $30, depending on the age of the book, and they go through page by page. They look to see if anything was cut out. They look to see if it was doctored up. The old, like if this was the first Spider-Man, okay, Amazing Fantasy 15, a lot of those books have been doctored up. If there was black here and it broke the color, people will do a Sharpie marker and put black to make it look like it was a flawless book. The people that grade know all the tricks. They'll open it up, the black leads through. They know all the tricks, so they grade it. If it gets a blue label, it's universal. That means there's nothing wrong with this book. It wasn't cut, doctored, damaged, whatever. And they encase it. It's like a vacuum encasing. They put white archival paper between the front and the back cover, and it kind of helps preserve it. Like if the house came from a book where there was smoking, it actually pulls the smoke out. It helps the book to last longer. There's an art form to they call this slabbing a book. There's an art form to what books to do and what not to do. It's tricky. And another thing, this is from 1982, it's my original collection. It got a 9.8. If you get a 9.8 and it's 30 or more years old, that's very hard to do. And I was in 8th grade when this came out, so I looked at it. One time my hands were clean. I didn't eat greasy potato chips and look at it. I did not bend the pages, and I bagged and boarded it right away. A 9.8 is about the highest you're ever going to get. If you get a 9, 9, or a 10, they call that a white whale. They're like if this is just, I probably shouldn't have slabbed this. Maybe they'll make a movie, maybe they won't. But if it was a $100 book at 9.8 and it was a 9.9, it could be $3,000 to $5,000. If it's a 10, you're talking over $10,000. It's a gem mint, and physically nothing can be wrong with that book. And when it gets to 9, 9, or 10, they go to multiple graders and they say, I think this is a 10, what do you think? And they have to agree on it. This book right here, it's a no-name book. It's Hercules number 8, but in the Overstreet Prike Guide, it got ruled as a low distribution, so it's kind of like a low minor key issue. The highest grade that existed was a 9.2. I looked on eBay for 6 months. I wanted to beat that grade, and I found one, and it got a 9.6. So this is the highest grade book in the world at this time for this issue, a 9.6. It's the single highest graded book. So I look for, but the thing is, people have been playing this game for 15 years. I've been only doing it for 2 or 3. So a lot of those have been filled up. So I'm looking for the minor ones that I can get the highest grade in, and then that makes it more valuable. So a book like this, I would probably sell for about $300 because it's the single highest graded and it was low distribution. It's fun. I love this stuff.
Very cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
The question that comes to mind is, let's see if the question that comes to mind is when it comes to sort of these niche rating systems where it takes expertise and professional to it. Usually there's like we call it a Napa Valley of this sort of personnel.
There's an art and a science, and one more thing to answer your question, my $6,000 book is in a safe deposit box. So,
Okay.
So is there like a location or a place that you could consider like the Mecca of comic books or the Napa Valley of comic books?
I'm just thinking off the cuff here, but probably New York. That's where a lot of Marvel started, and the artists. In fact, the people from CGC, they all have a New York accent. They moved down from New York. The guy that I used to press my books, that it's heat and pressure applied. His last name is Grisolia, you know, so I would say New York is my guess. There's a secret sauce. No one really knows how they grade the books at CGC. I've told them I'd like to do it, and the lady says, no, you don't, because you grade books all day, you want to hate it. But here's my guess. They're probably in a very dark room cubicle with a bright, intense light. This is a loop, and if you look at this and you look at a comic book, you can see on the corners, you can see the single fibers coming out from a book if it's 20, 30 years old. So it's almost like, I guess, I don't know the nature of the guys that do jewelry, they look at stuff, but I'm guessing that's what they do. But it's an art form, it's not a science. You may disagree with the grade that they gave you, but it is what it is. If you send it back a year later, you might get a different grade, but once it's encased, the buyer and the seller, there's no dispute, that's what it is, and if they're willing to buy that 9.6 or 9.4, whatever it is, it's easier to sell a book if it's been slabbed, but it costs you the money on the front end. So, but it's worth it for certain. That's why there's an art and a science what to slab, what to not slab. So,
very cool. Well, guys, give it up for Donovan Dowling. We were going to keep him up here on stage, and there's a switch. Yeah, go ahead. We're going to keep him up on stage, and we're going to invite Gregory George to the stage to hold a couple questions about his YouTube channel. He has Adventures with George and a couple of video game channels where he attempts to conquer the unconquerable. And we found George. He did a video of City Con from January 2017, and we were just impressed with the work that he done. It seemed that he does a lot to bring the events that happen throughout Central Florida to life through his YouTube channel. So, Greg, how are you doing today?
Oh, here's the microphone.
Yeah, let's get your microphone.
is it on?
Yes. And we are having a little experiment. He is going to be recording while we do our...
You're all going to be on my vlog. Say hi, everybody.
So, Greg, what got you into YouTubing and making your channel, and then sort of picking doing the Adventures with Greg channel?
I'm filming myself at this answer. Well, I kind of started making videos a few years ago after I learned that, anybody ever heard of Cypress Gardens? Anybody heard of Cypress Gardens? Yeah. I was, back when Kent Bishop bought the park, I was extremely concerned that it was going to fail. And I started going to the place and started taking pictures of it as kind of documenting it, right? Making sure that it wasn't going to be forgotten. And at some point I decided, well, it's probably easier for me to just film video. And I can go to the park and I can film like a history of the park and kind of show it for everybody. And then, of course, when Logan bought it, I kind of kept on making videos.
And what year was this that you started sort of documenting Cypress Garden?
I want to say it was about 2006 or something along those lines. Okay. Yeah, I have another website called cypressgardensphotos.com where I've taken pictures of the park. I mean, I literally just went bananas. And I was taking pictures of every little detail of the park. Like, oh look, there's a rock that's broken over there. Let me take a picture of that. Because I just wanted to make sure that it would never be forgotten.
Right, the old broken rock.
Yeah, the broken rock. Everybody remembers the broken rock and the twisted tree, right?
So they seem to be doing a lot of documenting. Have you discovered some of the old ski videos that they have in Cypress Gardens?
Yeah, I watched a lot of those old Cypress Gardens ski videos, and a friend of mine turned me on to some old videos that were filmed there. One with Rodney Dangerfield.
Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah, he just did a quick little video there of him with a tiger, and it was just a little fun video that he did, and it was right in front of the ski show stadium. So my friend had to find that exact spot where the ski show stadium is, and it's kind of those kind of things are very interesting to go back and find like a movie location where they filmed something, and to be at that exact spot where they filmed this movie.
We had a guest at our last City Con who does it. He followed where they filmed a lot of Back to the Future scenes, correct? I remember him being in one of your videos. If you
So are we talking about Adam?
I believe so.
Adam the Woo? Yeah. Has anybody ever heard of Adam the Woo? No. Anyway.
He goes back and he finds the areas where these scenes are shot. And there are a lot more Michael J. Fox films. And it's just interesting because it's a way of documenting that film. And that brings me to the importance of this. Why it is so important to have someone who is filming and keeping track of these events happening, so that when they do go away or we move on into the next phase of wherever we're heading, we have this picture or video or something to look back on. Do you find yourself, picking up that cause and like carrying that torch yourself with the YouTube channel? Or mid-flip?
Yeah. Well, one of the terms that is used for the type of videos that I make are called vlogs. It's called like a video vlog. And the idea with a vlog is that it's documenting what you see. It's documenting history. It's documenting a daily life, maybe, or you're looking at what this once looked like and it looks like how it looks now. And it's more of a, it's kind of important to have it as a historical document, basically, but in a video form.
What are some of the favorite areas that you've filmed over the years?
Well, last year I went to Atlanta, and has anyone heard of this show called The Walking Dead? Walking Dead?
I'm quite familiar with that.
Yeah. I went and I found that spot where that famous, it's the iconic spot where Andrew Lincoln is walking into Atlanta. You can see the cityscape in the background.
Yeah.
It's pretty much used in all the promotional materials. I found that exact spot. I found the spot where they filmed for Terminus. That's there in Atlanta too. And I think those are the only two Walking Dead spots I found. But then last year also when I was in Atlanta, I happened to be walking through the park and I saw looked like they were getting ready to film something there. And I stopped and I asked one of the security guards, what are you guys filming? And he couldn't tell me the exact name of the movie.
Okay.
But he gave me the code name for the movie. So what do you think I did? First thing I did is I went to Google and said, what's this actual movie that they're filming here? Turns out it was Avengers Infinity War. And the scene at the beginning of the movie when Iron Man is fighting with Thanos' minions was filmed in this park right there in Atlanta. And I just happened to be there in the spot at this time. It was probably the next day that they were filming, but they were getting ready for it. So
Really cool.
And then I found, before we go to the next question, and then I found the Avengers headquarters. It's also in Atlanta. It's the Porsche building. If anybody's curious, it's the Porsche building in Atlanta.
Right. So everybody go visit the Porsche building. What was the code name that they had used for that production?
I can't remember. It was like Mildred or something like that. Something like his name. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, from our audience, does our audience have any questions as to some of these places that we've heard of, or your YouTube channel, Adventures in George? Yes.
Adventures by George.
Adventures by George.
Yes.
Are people receptive to you when they know you're filming? Do they run you off or just say, oh yeah, come on in?
You know, I have a bad habit of just walking up and start filming stuff. There was once I was at the Osceola County Fair and I was just randomly filming and there was this lady who had a table, but she made homemade soap. And she immediately, she stopped me, she said, what are you doing? I said, I'm filming a vlog. And she said, what's a vlog? I said, well, I'm just, filming everything that I see. She said, well, I don't want you filming here. I was like, okay. And I thought to myself, this can only be good for you. I don't understand why you would not want me to film. So I've kind of gotten into the habit since then of asking, would you mind if I filmed, your stuff? And usually, most times people say it's okay.
Especially if you ask. Yeah.
That would kind of shock me. So now it's kind of a running joke. I never want to run into any more soap ladies.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I noticed that you also have a video game channel that you started. You do run-throughs of video games.
Yes, that again.
You have
It's for the vlog. It's for the vlog.
you have a video game channel, do you not? Where you I've seen you do like a run-through of Contra.
Yeah.
Contra games. So what started this sort of labor of love of doing run-throughs of video games?
Well, full disclosure, I'm kind of in my mid-40s, so I'm kind of a big Atari fan. Has anybody ever played Atari? Ever heard of Atari before? Yeah, I've been an Atari fan since I was a kid. Video games have always been kind of an addiction for me, and I just kind of combined my love of playing video games with putting it on camera. And I have another website called Atari Times where I've done a lot of video game reviews and articles and things.
Okay.
I've kind of bridged that into doing videos as well.
So when you plan to do a run, do you do a lot of practice with that video game before you start recording yourself?
Well, so far it's just been games that I'm really good at. Like Contra, I actually beat, Super Contra. Yeah, it's Super Contra. I've actually beaten that game with 1 life, which it's a little bit easier than the first Contra game, but I got that with 1 life. Yeah, Space Invaders for the Atari 2600, that's an easy game for me. Mortal Kombat 2, I played that on the Genesis a lot, so far it's just been the really easy games.
And just as a question for anybody who may want to start a YouTube channel out there, or even doing screen grabs of what they're doing on a set, what sort of equipment do you utilize for your YouTube channel?
You're looking at it right here. It's my phone. I do 99% of everything on my phone.
Well, who else has a phone?
Who else has a phone? Who else has a phone out there? Anybody have a phone?
So you're...
Well, that's the trick. I'll tell you, I did a video, I did a Disney, it wasn't a Disney cruise, it was a Carnival cruise. I did that about 2 years ago. And I knew that I would not have enough storage on my phone. It's like 32 gigs. I knew I wouldn't have enough storage on my phone to do it all, so I just got this little adapter and just plugged it in the bottom and copied all the files off to a separate memory card until I can get back to my editor tool and edit.
Put it in the old storage bank, get it later.
Yeah.
Is there anything you've had to buy throughout the years to sort of meet the needs for what you want to do with your channel?
But, well, mostly it's just the software.
Okay.
I use Adobe Premiere to edit on my computer. Or if I'm on the road or something like that, I'll just film with iMovie on my phone. It's not as featured as Premiere. I can't do as much stuff on it, but it usually gets me through.
Cool. Any more questions from our audience?
Anybody been to any other conventions besides this one? What conventions have you been to? You and the purple Batman.
MegaCon, Tampa Bay Comic Con, SuperCon, all of them.
Okay, I just got back from Dragon Con in Atlanta, which is like the biggest convention
In this area.
probably in the United States, next to Comic Con in Los Angeles, San Diego, yeah. And I was just in the parade. I was in the car with the Blues Brothers car, and there's probably 30,000 people there. And my advice to anybody going to a really big convention, what advice would you have? What would be the first thing you would
Pack a lunch. The food is expensive and terrible.
pack? That's a good one. That's a good one.
Shower.
Study the
itinerary, because there's so many things to do, you gotta plan it out.
Yes.
That's probably my biggest one, is that you really want to plan when you're going to a really huge convention, because there's just so much to see at those, and you can get overwhelmed very quickly.
So at this time, I wanted to bring up James Mathis again to the stage, and we'll follow along with having an open discussion between the three of you. We'll have Don Medallion on his mic, Greg over here, James, and what I have is I have bag of questions, random questions. We don't know what we're gonna get, but we're gonna ask and have you guys answer truthfully. So now you're gonna have a lot of time to think about it. Okay, if you want to share this. Here, this is James Mathis, for those of you who have not seen him today. He is the voice of Black Panther.
Do you want me to hold back?
I've got the bag, but like I said before, it looks like an ordinary Target bag, but no, especially because it has random questions. I did not come up with these questions. They were randomly generated from another universe.
I know where you got the Target bag.
All right, so, well, you know what? Let's open up the audience. Can I have someone draw from the back?
Can someone come draw a question from the back for us? Yes, please. Thank you.
Be scared, you won't get sucked in.
All right, I am going to sit down.
All right, folks. If you were given 1 minute ad slot during the Super Bowl that you couldn't sell, what would you fill it with? Donovan.
I love those Snickers commercials. So,
Oh goodness. I would do a spin off of that, just in a different way. Just when you're grumpy and you haven't had food and you're some random actor or actress or whatever. So
And no one wants to get diva.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Those are my favorites. What was the question again?
If you had a 1 minute ad on the Super Bowl, what would you?
A 1 minute ad on the Super Bowl. Well, obviously, I would just promote my YouTube channel and just say, go to Adventures by George.
I think I would have some type of. My commercial would be about love. It would be really cheesy in that way. So there would be no words. It'd just be people hugging, people embracing, just different displays of love.
Very cool.
Hey, all the world is watching. Yes, very much.
We have another person. I actually have a question in my mind last question to ask. That question is, if you had a boat, any size boat, small boat, big boat, huge boat, what would you name that boat and why?
Betsy. When we were kids riding mopeds, I didn't have one, my friend did, and he called his scooter Betsy. It was a name that stuck with me, so yeah.
I guess probably along those same lines, I'd probably name mine Stella, because that is the code name for the Atari 2600.
My boat would probably be named Jumbo, because that's what they called my dad when he was younger. I just figured I'd just pay homage to him.
Where did that nickname come from?
Probably somewhere in the south, with actual Jumbos. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, his mom called him that, so I'm going to call him that.
Stella and
Betsy.
is there someone else who wants to draw from the back?
Betsy was the go-to name for a long time. Come on, Betsy!
You guys want to draw from the back?
Oh, Pirate Girl. Would you like a mic?
Alright guys, this is one that I really do like. Celebrities. We all know them, we all love them. Which celebrity would you rate a perfect 10? Sorry, with you, Donovan.
Phone here. Is it phone here?
That would be an easy question. Easy. William Shatner. Captain Kirk.
There you go.
Yeah, I think I would have to go with Sidney Poitier.
That's right.
I I would have to go with Sydney because he did a lot for actors of color. He's always been very, very sharp. And I met him at a gas station once and pumped his gas for him. So yeah, I'd probably choose Sydney. Nice guy. Or
Did he give you a tip?
He didn't mind me pumping his gas at all. It was great, and I was glad to. He did. He told me to love my family more.
Oh, okay. That's a good tip. That's a good one.
My Super Bowl goal is going to be all about it.
I get back to you. I'm not sure yet. Talk it out for Christianity right now. It's
We're coming up on our time. I do have one last question. This is a question that I always like to ask people. You never know what they're gonna come up with, and we find things on the side of the road every now and then. I know one time I found this elephant, like a lamp, and it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. It was like someone had this outrageous party, went to a thrift store and bought everything in sight, and then put this gorgeous lamp on the side of the road. What is the coolest thing that you have ever found in the trash?
The coolest thing I ever found in the trash was a previously discarded first draft of the best poem I'd ever written. Yeah. No, I don't title them. They just exist. Yeah. But that would probably be the best thing. Yeah. One man's trash is the same man's treasure.
Coolest thing I found in the trash? Probably a donut with one bite in it. I took it. Wait a minute. I think that may have been George Costanza. No. I never found anything cool in the trash.
I can't think of anything either. It's like through some personal books and stuff, but nothing that popped out at me. So.
I can only imagine that the coolest thing that you could find in your trash would be like a box of
Old comics or something.
Well, before we leave, folks, do we have any questions that have popped up from our audience here that you would like before we go? Yes, right here. If you want to come up.
I wanted to ask each of you, what is your favorite comic book issue? Like something that you would consider priceless that you probably never sell?
I'd have to say my first Black Panther was just amazing. So, yeah.
Which one was that?
It's Fantastic Four number 52, the first Black Panther. So.
Awesome.
I don't have a lot of comic books, but the ones that I do have a lot of the Robotech comics. I was a big Robotech fan back in the day, watching the cartoons, so I collected a lot of those comics. But again, if I circle this back to Atari, they also did a lot of comic books, and a couple of years ago, I purchased like the entire collection of the Atari Force comics on eBay, so those would be my prize. I don't think I've ever opened them, but they're sealed and they're in my collection.
I also wouldn't sell his Black Panther comic. Yeah, but if I had one, that would be my prized possession. I think him being the first of his kind, I think he's very instrumental in where I am today and where a lot of cinema is right now as far as superheroes and representation. There had to have been a first, so he's the first mainstream. I would discard that. Thank you.
I know for me, we talked with Uncanny Heroes, the comic book store over here, and they mentioned Saga. When I found Saga, awesome comic book. Check it out with Uncanny Heroes over there. Guys, thank you so much for coming out. Give a round of applause for our panel guests. And once again, I thank the Mayor and Commissioner Boger for coming out and helping support our event. At 4:30, we will have our cosplay contest that will take place at the band stage out in City Park. So we hope to see you there. As always, have a fun time. Thank you for visiting City Con.
All right.